Good everybody. Today's date is Tuesday, April 15th. I'd like to call to order the Rules Administration and Procedures Committee meeting. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Chairperson Ron Warman.
Here.
Vice Chair Carl Franco.
Here.
Alderman Edward J. Bugg.
Here.
Alderman Dan Barrero.
Here.
Alderwoman Patty Smith.
Here.
5 present.
First item on the agenda is approval of minutes, 25-0234, approval of the minutes from Rules Administration and
Second.
Procedures Committee meeting held on March 18th, 2025. Have a motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Barrero. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes 5-0. Clerk, anybody here for a public comment?
No one has signed up.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, 25-0319, an ordinance amending Chapter 27, specifically Section 27-176, parking commercial vehicles, trailers, truck trailers, and truck tractors in residential districts.
Good afternoon, RAP Committee. This is not a repeat, but this is an item that the committee had previously reviewed a presentation on, and the initial plan was to go to COW, but upon taking the committee's conversation and suggestions into account, APD opted to work with the law department and outside counsel to make some additional changes, so that was the reason for the delay. We do have a representative from the PD here. If you'd like to see a brief presentation and ask questions again, and as originally planned, we do have it on the COW agenda for this evening. So we can either do the presentation here, we can do it this evening, we can do both, whatever the committee would like.
Suggestions from the committee?
Is it the same presentation that we had last time?
It would be reflective, it is the same?
So
Okay,
perhaps
just the
keep, since we have seen
Hold
it,
it for
perhaps keep
COW.
it for COW?
completely up to the committee.
If everyone else agrees.
I would be okay with that as well, too, so.
And the revised language is attached to the item as well.
Do we have any questions or comments regarding the revised language?
So moved.
Hearing none.
Second.
Have a motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda, 25-0264, a resolution approving the appointment of Luis Lopez and Gus Antazalikas to the Aurora LGBTQ Advisory Board.
Good afternoon, Alex Voigt with the Mayor's Office. What you have before you is the remaining 2 appointments for the LGBTQ Advisory Board. I believe I referenced these pending appointments at a recent RAP committee meeting, but this will round out the board, which is good. We haven't had a full slate, I think, in about a year or so, and they are planning a number of activities for Pride Month in support of the Pride Parade, and then again throughout the year. And I am going to double check, but I believe this board is all Aurora residents. And I can take any questions.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
Do you have any idea what wards they're in?
So the 2 individuals today, Gus is Ward 3 and Luis is Ward 5.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
So moved.
Hearing none.
Second.
I have a motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda, 25-0301, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Michael Lippman, Shirley Payne, and Anna Diaz to the Aging and Community Advisory Board.
So these 3 appointments will also round out the Aging and Community Advisory Board. Back a few months ago, we appointed our 6 initial candidates. Applications, if you'll recall, were a little bit slow for this one, but after getting our 6 people, 6 original members on the board, we were able to identify 3 other people. This was through outreach work done by Katrina Boatwright and other board members. We have Michael Lippman is a Ward 9 resident, Shirley Payne is a Ward 6 resident, and Anna Diaz is a Ward 7 resident.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing none, I have a motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda, 25-0306, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Dr. Robert Halverson to the Aurora Education Commission.
So moved.
Second.
This appointment is to fill the vacancy that was created by the recent change in superintendents at School District 131. Dr. Halverson is not a resident of Aurora, but we do have a requirement to have all of our school districts represented on the Education Commission, so that is the reason for this appointment.
Do we have any questions or comments from the committee?
So moved.
Already had that.
Hearing none, I had a motion by Alderman Smith and a second by Alderman Franco. Sorry, Alderman Barrero, so. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda, 25-0311, authorizing, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Jaden Badillo to the Sister Cities Commission.
Yes, Mr. Badillo is a 6th Ward resident, and he is a senior at West Aurora High School. So if the RAP committee will recall, we do have 2 different opportunities for students to participate in boards and commissions. They can either be appointed as a voting member, or they can be a student representative. In this instance, staff felt that Mr. Badillo would be a good candidate for a voting board member, and he is nearing the end of his high school career, so we're very comfortable appointing him to the commission.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
So moved.
Hearing none, I have a motion by Alderman Smith. Alderman Franco, did you have a question?
I'm just thinking about a senior in high school being on a committee and voting. I'm just trying to reconcile that. It's just interesting. I'm good with it, right? I'll second that. I just have to think about that a little bit.
Well,
Could
it-
be 18 and voting for president.
Well, and if
Well,
you, the other benefit to having a high schooler on this specific commission is the Sister City Commission. We have to look at making connections with other countries on a number of different levels. Youth and issues facing young people happen to be one of the areas of interest, as are sports, education, those sorts of things. So having someone in a different demographic is going to be very beneficial in this specific instance, and that's why staff was excited that his application came through.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that you gave us choices, they could be a representative, but not a voting person, but a voting person. So I like that a youth could be on there to get some experience. I'm just wrestling a little bit with the voting part of it, but, you know, all right, that's.
Well, again,
I'm
and this
just
is an
trying-
advisory commission,
Sure,
and
right.
he's one of 9,
Yeah.
so it's a great opportunity for
Sure.
him and for us.
All right, I will second that.
Any other questions or comments?
I'll just, when you're 18 in this country, you could be drafted to go to war. So I think you can vote on things.
I would agree, so any other questions or comments? Got a motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda, 25-0312, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Chance Trotter to the Aurora Youth Council.
So Mr. Trotter is a non-resident, but he is a student in the West Aurora School District. And it looks like our West Aurora seat is vacant, so he will fill the commission and also fulfill the requirement for School District 129 to be represented on the commission.
So moved.
Any
Second.
questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, I had a motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda, 25-0313, a resolution approving the reappointment of Dave McCabe to the Aurora Firefighters Pension Fund Board.
So this seat is for the pension board. There are 2 appointments, there are 2 nominations that are made by the mayor and appointed by the city council. One is the fire chief and the other is the CFO. So Chief McCabe, in his role, his term expired April 1st, so we're just looking to keep him on the board.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the committee? Motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda is 25-0314, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Steve Kuzella to the tree board.
So this appointment is, he is our new superintendent of parks, And previously, Gio Santana served on the tree board, but with his resignation and the appointment of Mr., I think it's Kuliza, we'd like to go ahead and put him on the board.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
I have a question.
Sure.
My question is, are there other people that are not city employees that are on the tree board?
So there are two. We have Mr. Bill Chinetti and Nick Day. And Bill Chinetti, how we have done it historically, since we only have two non-city employees, is we have one representative from the east side, and Mr. Chinetti lives in Oakhurst, and then a representative on the west side, and Mr. Day lives over, I think, in the 5th or 6th ward. Both are certified arborists. Mr. Day works for ComEd. So that's been a great resource for us in terms of when they do their tree trimming, having that relationship. When they have various programs, it's been helpful. He works a lot with Kathy Hain, our horticulturist here. So it's not a great number of people, but we do have two really exceptional, highly qualified people.
I was thinking about having someone that represents the Park District or, other entities might be helpful too.
Sure, and I think we've been very fortunate to have both of these individuals remain on the board for quite some time, because this is one that's a little bit harder to fill. But if we did have a vacancy come about, we could certainly do that. The other two things that I'll point out is we do have one seat specifically for an alderman. That seat has been filled by Alderman Donnell, who was able to provide information about the Park District and the city. With his retirement, we will be asking for a new aldermanic representative on the tree board. And then the mayor has either a seat for himself or a designee. Historically, that's been staff, but that is another opportunity you can put someone from the outside in as well, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah,
Alderman Bug?
thank you. Since Mr. Kuliza is new to this board,
Yes,
can we get, and semi-new to his position, can we get his redacted resume?
sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Motion by Alderman Smith,
Second.
second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item carries 5-0. Next item on the agenda, I was told this is going to be put on hold. Do I have to read this on the record or anything, or?
I don't think so.
Okay. Excuse me. So that concludes the items on the agenda here, but Alex Voidy reached out to me yesterday and asked if she could walk on an item and have a presentation. If you're going to go ahead and take it from here.
Sure. So we did have, and I apologize, this was in the pipeline for approval, but did not quite make it through. But what we have today is, we have Josh Ream and John Curley here, and thank you, Cody Lake, I apologize. And this was intended to be an information-only presentation on upcoming code updates. Now, this team has been working on this for months. They have been working on it. It's working its way through their various boards and commissions. I know from time to time we put people on the Permanent Building and Fire Code Committee. All of those boards, our professional boards, have been working to review these. So what we opted to do in the, just to walk it on today, is just a very broad overview. This overview will be provided again. It'll be coming before this committee. We anticipate several times. The plan was to manage these ordinance amendments in the same fashion that we did the sign ordinance. For those of you that were on the RAP committee when we did that, we brought it through in several stages because they were such substantive changes. So what the team is going to do today is just give you an overview, talk about the committees that have participated, and then you'll be seeing this again in a formal item at a later date. And Josh will be able to talk about the anticipated timeframe for that. So I'm going to hand it over.
Thank you all for indulging us in this too. Appreciate it because it's been a long process for us, and there's going to be a lot to eventually go through. So we just want to kind of let you guys know where we had been previously, kind of where we're at, and where we're going to kind of end up going through here. Just so everyone kind of covers, I think in
Hey,
general,
Josh,
we all.
before you get started, you just state your name and everything.
Oh, yeah,
for the
sorry.
record. Yeah, so-
Josh Ream, I'm Director of Development Services for the City of Aurora. And as AV pointed out, John Curley, Chief Development Service Officer, Cody Lake, one of our combination inspectors, and then Jesse Kohler, our Director of Building Permits, is in another meeting and back, but he'll be coming out as well in a little bit. We are primary staff handling kind of this whole process. The purpose behind the code adoption, obviously, we're trying to maintain safe buildings. We want to not only protect people, but property, make sure that fire, first responders are safe, and modernizing code usually helps us do that. We're also trying to reflect technological changes, building materials that have changed, new approaches to how we construct and build things. We're also trying to reduce cost. Two things in that is, again, new materials, new ways to go about things, bring in new efficiencies, better ways to get stuff done. And also our ISO rating, which I'll go into in part of this, helps reduce all that costs on new construction as it gets going. And we always want to provide that opportunity for our development community, our staff, and also everyone in part of City Council to make sure that the ordinances, the way they were previously adopted, still are actually useful and, you know, not something that's outdated or something we want to change. So currently where we sit is in Aurora's codes, we're on the 2015 International Code Series, or ICC or I Series, so a little ways back. That covers new building, existing buildings, fire, fuel, gas, mechanical, portions of plumbing, residential, swimming pool, the 2014 National Electrical Code, and then all of them come with different associated standards, reference materials for like alarms, sprinklers, hoods, things like that that are secondary systems to the building. Items we can't touch or don't have any control over, the state mandated ones there. The 2014 Illinois Plumbing Code, again, that's our primary plumbing code. Anything that's not covered in there, we use the ICC for. The 2018 Illinois Accessibility Code, which works in conjunction with ADA standards. And then also the 2021 Illinois Energy Code. That's just a modification of, we have there the 2021 IECC, that's the International Energy Conservation Code. So the state makes its own kind of adjustments to that and then publishes it, and we're supposed to adopt it within a year every time that they approve it. So requirements and mandates. So part of the reason we're pressing and trying to get this through is the state of Illinois, for the first time, has started making a requirement that legislation adopts a building code. It hadn't been the case before. So if you guys have obviously heard complaints from constituents or contractors that no other city makes me do this or this one's on that, a lot of times that's due to differences in codes. There's cities around the state that are back on like a 2000, some is on a 2006, 09, so it's all over the place. The state's trying to mandate and get us all closer together so it's a more cohesive process everywhere, and that's something that started as a requirement as of January 1st of this year. They have some caveats about what we can and can't touch. The biggest thing that they're concerned about is structural. A lot of this is coming out of the big tornado that hit the Walmart. What town was that in? Oh, I forget. It's Southern Illinois. There was, I think if you guys remember a couple of years ago, there was a really large tornado that took out a whole Walmart down there. And part of it was finding out that they were on a code series dating back to the 90s. They hadn't updated for wind speeds, all this other stuff. So the state's trying to make sure we're all a little bit closer. So again, now our adoption is going to be more closely regulated. So we're trying to get up to speed on everything so that we're more on the cutting edge and at front. The other part that's on there is our VERISIC, or ISO, as we refer to it, rating. And that's a building code and effectiveness grading score. So basically that group is going through and they're evaluating all of our building permit staff. So inspectors, plan examiners, us as department heads, and then also our codes and everything we're at to determine the ISO rating for the city. And this affects insurance rates on new developments, new construction throughout town. Currently, we're the only, I think we're the only city in Illinois with a 2, and we're also the best score in the state. think golf score, the lower is the better score. The higher up you go, the worse your performance is. You've got outdated codes, staff that isn't as credentialed, and things like that. ISO comes regularly and wants to reevaluate, make sure you're keeping up with things. And right now, they've been bugging John to come in and reevaluate us. So this is part of our process of getting fully updated. So when they come through, we make sure we can maintain that score that we're very proud of. So kind of the process and overview of where we're at. So clearly we need to make an update to this from the state and other things like that. But also just as an industry, a lot has changed since 2015 codes were out. A lot of things in the private sector that technologies, equipment, things like that, that we need to start accounting for and make sure that we're more up to date on what we're doing. What this requires is a full review of the I-series of codes and anything pertinent in the city ordinance. This really can't be done by any one individual or in isolation of each book. So for example, we've got multiple inspectors at each trade. We bring each one of them in to specifically go over like electrical with us or plumbing with us and really sit down and look at that. And also all of these books kind of interconnect. So there's elements from building that affect mechanical. There's items from plumbing that affect building. They all kind of work together, so we can't isolate and kind of do individual components. We got to kind of work through them as a whole group. And as part of this, and what we'll see with our boards and committees, is we also try and really get with the outside, our architects, engineers, contractors, kind of see what they're thinking, both about how we perform internally and also how their sector is responding to things and what they kind of know about. They'll usually see some things before we will, and we'll see other stuff before them. So getting together really helps us do the best job of updating the ordinance and making sure it works as well for Aurora as we can. So our boards and commissions on this process, the first one's the Permanent Building and Fire Code Committee. We've got two boards there, the building and the fire, each independent. They all have architects, engineers, and contractors on them that have been meeting with us. And then we also have the Electrical Commission. That's one kind of single body, again, of 5 members that includes architects, engineers, and contractors. And as I've mentioned before, we have our staff liaisons and the 4 of us that have been primary on this project. And then again, all of our inspectors sat with us during their individual trades, went over the code adjustments to kind of give us feedback from their perspective as they handle those on a day-to-day basis. So trusting the process, it's a long haul. We actually started this in 2023 was our initial look at review. We started going through the 2021 code series from ICC. Not long into doing it, we started hearing through chat forums, conferences, seminars that people were having some problems with items in the 21 code that they were going to start addressing. And in addition, we started hearing about the state looking to update a mandated code that was going to require us to be on a more recent edition very quickly. So we decided to jump forward a little bit, restart, and we're going to go all the way to the 24 code rather than going to the 21. So it took us a little longer. As part of this process, we have to go through the 15 code, compare it to the 18 code, then the 21 code, and then the 24 to get a full picture of where the code has changed from the last time we were there to where we're at now. So part of it is mapping everything that occurred and where stuff went, significant changes and everything like that. And that's part of what we're going to end up covering more with you guys in several meetings, is looking at each one of the books, where it was at when we last adopted it, and kind of where we're going to end up at with the 24 code. Every discipline has done this and kind of coordinated across each other. Once we got that done, we had created documents with all the significant changes, items we wanted to adjust in the ordinance, everything. We started meeting with all of our boards in 2025 to go over everything that was done by staff. So we've been doing weekly meetings with our boards and commissions over in our building on Fridays, where we're taking each book and the documents Cody was in charge of creating and going through the code book from the very beginning to the end, looking at significant changes, things of the ordinance. We're trying to clean up items that maybe we adopted, the last cycle, that since then the ICC has also saw the wisdom in whatever changes or more people were bringing it up, and they made changes, so we can remove them from the ordinance, kind of clean it up so there's as few discrepancies between the code and ordinance as possible. Anything we are going to bring to you has been approved by both the building, fire, and electrical committees. There was no disagreement between staff and these committees on any items. So anything that got voted on and approved is what we'll be bringing to you. It won't be anything that's been modified or adjusted. So what you're going to see over the next couple of presentations in WRAP is we're going to kind of summarize for you guys, the major points we found in each one of these. So things that are going to potentially reduce costs, could increase costs, life safety things, new technologies of each one of these, and then also a more higher level view of the changes in overall scope. So we've got all of them there, and then there's also some additional appendixes that we want to go over that cover, for instance, there's a cool section that they've added now, allowing loft areas in residential multifamily like apartment areas, so we can get additional bedrooms in a kind of smaller footprint with lower ceiling heights and things like that, which should help out a lot of our developers in downtown and areas where there's more confined. The state mandated codes, there will be no changes to these. The state governs them, and we just come and adopt them as we're instructed to by their adoption process. Just a few items and kind of next steps. I think one thing you guys will note that is not necessarily omitted but left out of this is energy code items. The state again controls what energy code we're on. We're on the 2021 right now. They've also started what they've called this stretch energy code for the state of Illinois. I think at some point in time you guys have been made aware of this over the last year and everything. The final rendition of this didn't get done until September. So as part of that, staff didn't feel we had enough time to necessarily go over all of that and the implications with everyone, with where we were at on our adoption with the I-series of codes. And in addition, that's not a life safety element and not tied to the ISO rating and stuff like that in the same fashion. So we've been handling that as a separate item that we're going to bring back through WRAP in the future once we've kind of got our program out that we're working on there. So that's something to come still this year, but isn't tied to this particular adoption. And again, I think Ms. Voigt covered it as well. We're going to be coming back to WRAP a couple of times. We're going to do BZE as informational, and then we'll be going to Cowan City Council as well for anything there. If there's any major changes or anything you guys want or see that you don't like, we'll go back to our committees, work with them to get something revised that we feel more comfortable with, and bring it back to everyone for full approval before we move on. I think that's all I've got for now. I know it's a lot, and the next ones are going to be probably really boring and tedious, so we appreciate your patience. But if you have any questions right now, otherwise, we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks again, too.
Chairman Warman?
Any questions?
I
Yeah,
have
sure.
a question. So the, once we update these codes, how do the contractors and architects, all the trades, how do they know about these codes? How do they get up to speed on it?
Good question. So we've been kind of alerting them already that we're going to be doing it in our development service meetings as people are coming in with projects and things like that. We also will give them a several-month buffer. We'd still like to adopt this in 25, but if it has to sit till January 1 of 26, won't be the end of the world, but it's not ideal. What we usually do is send out emails to all of them. We'll be posting on the website. Our website's already had information that we're updating the codes, and on there they can find our meeting minutes, agendas, and everything like that. So we've been trying to make them aware through our communications that what's going on, and it's also been on our doors at our office and everything like that. So we just kind of make sure that the foot traffic knows. We cover it in any meetings where Jesse and I are informing people in DST about projects, and then we'll start using our email services because we have all the emails for all the registered contractors, designers, and things like that. We'll start blasting out email messages to them as we get along in this process.
How does it affect a subdivision that's under construction that might take multiple years from start to finish?
Good question, and they all ask. So what happens is your code cycle is locked in the moment your permit hits our door. So if you're in now under the 15 codes, for the length of that project, it stays under, even if we change. It's really unfair if we change ships in midstream and we make them jump over. So that's usually what we'll do is we'll set an adoption date, and anything after that that comes in, they have to follow that from.
I just wanted to add a little bit. John Curley, Chief Development Services Officer. In the past, we flagged changes that were substantive enough that they would have made model homes obsolete. And those changes were stair geometry changes, which doesn't sound like it's a big deal, but if you add a riser to an existing home model, you might be changing the floor plan enough that the current models are obsolete. So in those instances, and what I would suggest, again, if there was anything identified or concerning along those lines, we actually set a sunset in our adoption that allowed not only permit applied for, but platted properties to use the models that had already been approved. So there definitely are things we can do to ease any potential pain for anyone. Again, in that instance, we actually highlighted that when we brought it forward to council, and that was the proposal at the time. I would suggest doing the same thing, although right now, on the housing side, I'm not really concerned about anything that would make models obsolete. The only potential thing would be that subsequent thing we'd bring forward would be the stretch energy code potentially.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Yep, thank you. No other items before the agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion. Motion by Alderman Smith, second by Alderman Franco. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned at 3:31 PM. Thank you.